Okay, so catching up with some of the drugs that I missed out on. The first one I'm going to talk about today is One Rip and its long-lasting version TTM. So this is a UGL blend, and the One Rip version, or the fast-acting version, is testosterone propionate, Trenbolone acetate, and androstenedione propionate, or masteron propionate, as more commonly known. TTM is basically the slow-acting version of this, which is testenanth, treninanth, and masteronanth. So, generally, obviously, tren doesn't aromatize, well, not to any significant nature that we need to be concerned about. Test does aromatize, and propionate is particularly quick at aromatization, and masteron is anti-estrogenic. So, if this stuff is dosed correctly, there is usually little need for any estrogen management. However, the big issue with this with UGLs is that tren and mast are two very expensive components, whereas test prop is as cheap as chips. As a result, some of the UGLs tend to be slightly higher on a test prop and slightly lower on the tren and mast. So, it all depends on whether you're getting the real thing. You can test it, not the cheapest option, but there are testing services available. In the UK, I believe Chem Clarity is back up and running come September. So I know that date's not set in stone. Overseas, there may be other options available. Or you can just go on reputation, which is probably only going to be the real way you can go on. But obviously, if you are taking One Rip and you are starting to see estrogen-related sides, chances are it's more test than anything else. Now, the only real androgen in there to speak of is tren. Obviously, tren has more harsher sides than anything else, but in general, it's used quite low dose. You usually sort of talking 1.5 mil every other day pre-comp. It's generally used, One Rip anyway, is generally used in a diet scenario due to its fast-acting esters and its overall low aromatization issues if it's dosed correctly. The TTM version, of the long-lasting version, is more of an off-season drug and will generally promote lean and mild gains. Now, like I said, the main issue in there from a side effect point of view is going to be tren. Simple as that. Test propionate at the doses you're going to be consuming is not really going to give you any issues whatsoever. Neither is masteron, both generally mild drugs when it comes to side effects. So it's only the tren. If you have anxiety issues, you have depressive episodes, or anything of that nature, paranoia, generally you should avoid anything with tren in it. It will only exaggerate these conditions. But if you've used trends in the past and you tolerate it quite well, then you should have no issues at all with this drug. As I said, generally lean gains with either version. The One Rip, as the name would suggest, is generally used towards dieting. TTM is more of an off-season version. There's nothing really scary about this because the dosing is quite minimal. However, it is going to be quite suppressive, so it's going to require some form of PCT post-use. Really, like I said, the only area to be concerned within this drug is the Trenbolone portion of it, and for most UGLs its dosing is quite low. That's it really with this stuff, you know. It's a decent drug, and I've seen a lot of people diet very successfully on just running 1 mil of this stuff every other day. The fast-acting version, generally most people ain't going to go much than 1.5 mil. There's no really need to. And you don't need to run anything with it. It's as simple as that. It's very much a standalone product. With the slow-acting version, doses tend to be a little bit higher, but it all depends on the lab you're buying and what the individual portions are. Generally, you'd look for the test to be higher than the tren and the mass to be quite similar to the test. Every lab's going to be different. They'll dose it the different ways, and then again, obviously, you run the risk because it is only UGL that the dosing is actually correct, and it's what you get in the vial. But on paper, it's a decent product, and you should have no major issues with it. Okay, so that's it for one rip. I will go through my list and see what else I've missed, and that's what we'll do next week.